that funny.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Morning Mayhem. I'm your boy Chris, coming at you again. Another wonderful week in the wonderful year of 2024. So much going on, so much to talk about. Hopefully not as long as last week. I think we went about 2 hours almost. It was like an hour and 50 something minutes final cut. So hopefully we don't have that much to talk about this week, even though I did have a couple of more segments I wanted to include or dive deeper in, and I've cut some of that because I haven't had as much time this week to put into it, actually looking at purchasing another gun. So been researching that, looking forward to that. We'll be getting that this week. Really excited about that. Second Amendment, baby. You know it. But we will go over a handful of things. Hopefully it's something that you enjoy. Remember, if you love the long form content, that's what we do every Friday morning. And then we cut that up into little segments we release throughout the week. So hopefully there's something in there for everybody. And if you do like it, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you know somebody who might like either the long format or the short format, make sure you share the videos with them. So we'll look at what we're getting into this week. We've got the election 2024, a new segment that we're going to roll out for that, some updates that'll be going on because it is an election year, exciting stuff. We've got another segment that we will be rolling out this week for the first time called The Federal Government is Clueless. This week we're going to look at good old Mitch McConnell finally stepping down. That news just broke on Wednesday, I think it was. We'll talk about that a little bit. Shane Gillis returns to Saturday Night Live as the host and wasn't received super duper well, so we'll talk about that some. And then the Film or Screen Actors Guild, I call them the Film Actors Guild, got together and patted each other on the back for an award ceremony. We'll talk about that a bit. Dove Soap is sending mixed signals with some of their marketing that came out during the Super Bowl, and I just randomly ran across it on my Facebook feed. But first, so yeah, I get it. I'm making a bigger deal than I probably should of this. It wasn't a copyright strike or anything like that. It was just copyright claim. And the way that it dropped, it was just automatic. It did get flagged in the, if you couldn't tell, it was the Jon Stewart Daily Show segment. It did get flagged in the long form video, but it was just a simple copyright claim, nothing major. But then when I broke it down into the shorts, into the individual segments that I was releasing throughout the week, it did block that video. It was completely blocked from going out, and that was supposed to go out Monday. And of course I disputed it, and sure enough, Monday morning before it went out, or Tuesday or Sunday night rather, I guess it was, if I can get the days of the week right, whatever it was, it just happened to come through in the nick of time. So the episode did come out, and it was able to roll out there, and it did pretty good, and we had some pretty good views on it. Starting to pick up steam with views and subscribers. So if you hadn't already, make sure you do join us here with the mayhem and the madness and fun stuff. But I will say this, again, probably making a bigger deal than I should for just a regular copyright claim, not a strike or anything like that, admittedly. But I do want to point out that I want to celebrate any win for our freedoms, and freedom of speech is a huge thing. Right now it's under attack more than any side, really, from the left, to be fair, just calling it like it is. But companies like Google and YouTube and some of these other ones are trying to restrict free speech. And that's why Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, all these guys are starting to get more and more people, especially Rumble. Rumble's blowing up, and I love it. I've been on Rumble for a while now, and really, really excited to see those guys take off. But I'm also on BitChute. You know all these guys down here. You see them. If you don't know what those are other free speech alternative platforms that exist. And I 100% support those guys. I put my content on there. BitChute doesn't allow me to put the full content on there because it's too big of a file, too long. So I do the segmented clips on there for BitChute. But everything else, as far as Odyssey, Rumble, I guess that's it. Rumble, Odyssey, whatever, the main ones there, they do get the full shows. So check them out on those platforms if you're on those. Maybe you're already watching it on there. Good for you. But YouTube specifically is cracking down on free speech. So anytime there is a win like that, whether it's Paramount specifically or YouTube specifically or whoever it is, anytime a copyright claim or a block or something gets laid on there, it hurts us content creators. And like I said, for example, not that I'm making any money off these videos or anything, but having a video not go out when it's scheduled to go out ruins the flow and the rhythm that you've built up. I've got videos going out literally every single day, and if they don't, it can mess up the algorithm and people can't see it and all this and that. And if I never get rich or never make money off my YouTube channel, trust me, I'm still going to do this because I want to get the information out there. One, I enjoy doing it for the most part. I'm not the biggest fan of being in front of the camera. I am a filmmaker. I enjoy being behind the camera, writing, directing, stuff like that. But I'll do this because I do enjoy getting the information out there, because I do go in more depth like some of these other guys, not as deep as Andrew over at Don't Walk Run, Steven Crowder with Louder with Crowder, or some of these other folks that I reference all the time. But I tried to cover topics more in depth and have the facts and sources available for you a lot more so than the mainstream media does. So I do like that aspect of it. So I'm still going to be here, but I definitely want to, my videos to go out like they're supposed to. So kudos to whether it's Paramount or whoever removed the block. So good for you. Thank you so much for doing that. I do believe, free speech is under attack. So any win is a win. So we will definitely celebrate those wins. All right. Our first segment today is going to be Shane Gillis over at Saturday Night Live. For those of you who don't know who Shane Gillis is, I think most of you guys probably do. He's a stand-up comedian, and he's been on Joe Rogan podcast several times. He's got his own little shorts and skits and stuff that he does that are really funny. He does an amazing Trump impression, and I think one of the things he's most known for is probably his Down syndrome jokes, because he has Down syndrome people in his family, and he jokes about it, how it nicked him, or he barely dodged it and stuff. I don't want to mess up his joke, but it's funny. And he was a member of Saturday Night Live up until it was time to go on air, apparently, and then they fired him before he ever got on camera because of some of his jokes or tweets or something like that were, offensive to the modern audience, which is basically everything now. Speaking of which, when he did go out and he hosted this past Saturday, he did upset the wrong people, the right people, whatever you want to call it. Shane Gillis bombs on Saturday Night Live with Down syndrome and gay jokes, which makes up quite a bit of his repertoire. The comedian briefly addressed his 2019 firing before getting into material that may have been a bit too edgy for Saturday Night Live. Down here, I'll just go a little bit. There was one big elephant in the room when Shane Gillis walked onto stage to host Saturday Night Live this weekend, and he addressed it straight away. I was actually fired from the show a while ago, but don't look that up. He told viewers, please don't even worry about it. And I will say, it's not for the same reasons that he got fired, but he's in good company, because one of my favorite comedians of all time, Norm Macdonald, was kicked off the show and then brought back later to host. And he famously said that I think it was 1 year that he got kicked off the show. He got fired. They asked him to come back to host, and he said, I don't think I got funnier in a year. The show just sucks. And he wasn't wrong. I mean, Saturday Night Live has gone downhill significantly from when I watched it, I think, in its peak, back when you had Adam Sandler and Tina Fey and Tim Meadows and Kevin Nealon and Norm Macdonald and all those guys on there. Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, David Spade. That was really probably the last exceptional class of Saturday Night Live that I'm aware of. And after that, just, a slow decline maybe, but there's nothing to it anymore. But back to this, Gillis then quickly pivoted to a set about how he should probably have become a high school football coach, followed by a joke about his dad being a volunteer girls high school assistant basketball coach, which did not go over well. I thought it was great. Never mind, he laughed. Thought that was going to be a big hit. This was the recurring sentiment throughout the monologue. Although the lack of laughs may not have seemed that noticeable to viewers at home, we know from previous episodes that often sounds a lot worse from the performer's point of view. And this is Shane Gillis's monologue here on Twitter. It was shared. I'm going to link to it in the description below. So in the show notes, you'll be able to get to it, check out and everything. Look, just to be real with you here, I'm not the biggest Shane Gillis fan. I think he's funny. I don't think all of his jokes land with me either. He's got a good following right now. He's in a really good spot, and that's why Saturday Night Live brought him back on. He's developed a really big fan base, and that fan base spans the left and the right. He tends to pull in a pretty conservative crowd, it seems, from what I've noticed. Some of his jokes are just, I'm grabbing my side. They're funny. But a lot of them, like in the ones Saturday night, kind of some inside jokes that maybe I didn't quite get, and apparently other people didn't get either. But I do like a couple of things, and you would think that the folks on the left or the modern audience would like it. He normalizes Down syndrome a lot. And by saying that, yes, he makes jokes about Down syndrome, but he normalizes it. He talks about how great it is for people with Down syndrome, and how stupid we are to think, oh no, they have Down syndrome. Yeah, they're like the happiest people on earth, right? But he normalizes it. He talks about it, and I think it's great that everybody can be talked about. I do think it's funny, though, that Christian, white, heterosexual men can't talk about anybody, but everybody can talk about us. So if you're not gay, you can't talk about gay. If you're not handicapped, you can't talk about handicapped. If you're not a midget, you can't talk about a midget. Yes, I said midget. That's what I've always heard it as, deal with it. Little people, whatever. But Brad, I can't think of his last name. Brad, he's a little guy. He's funny. He's very, very funny. But obviously he leans into that, right? You're going to. Black guys can talk about white folks and everybody else under the sun. So, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. But, he was normalizing it. He was making it where everyone could feel comfortable and welcome. And he does that all the time with his jokes. And I hate that's criticized about him, because he does a really, really good job with that. The SNL audience isn't really his audience, if we're being honest about it. They probably weren't when he was there to begin with, but they're definitely not now that he's got his own jokes, his own material that he's developed with different audiences. That isn't it. He did revert to some of his familiar stuff there at the end. Some jokes seemed, like I said, a little inside for me and clearly for the audience too. But overall, he's going to be judged because he doesn't cave to the current modern audience culture. That's really what it's about. This is a guy that doesn't cave in, which is funny because he just picked up a sponsorship with Bud Light, which the far right is, and conservatives are so against Bud Light because of the transgender and all this and that support they put behind Dylan Mulvaney, and but now Shane Gillis in the UFC and everybody's backing it. So the conservatives there's all kinds of controversy in that, all kinds of drama, a lot of misinformation about that as well. I would say look into that if that's something that piques your interest. But you know what, Shane Gillis just seems like every guy's guy. I'd go hang out with him, no doubt. This whole modern audience thing is just weak. I mean, we see what it's doing to TV, movies, everything like that. These people have no sense of humor, right? Everything triggers them. And it's not far left. If it's not far left ideology, it's far right. You have to be far left or else it's far right. So even if you're, left or centrist or, moderate, whatever, if it's not far left, it's far right to them. And you have to be in lockstep or you're just ousted and they don't want you there. And that's very, very sad. That's not a great way to live your life. And, a lot of comics can't mesh with that. So a lot of comics don't go to a lot of states or cities or whatever anymore. We saw that from, can't remember who it was, but he was on Joe Rogan and said he doesn't go to certain cities anymore just because he can't tell his jokes, he can't do his stuff. But like I said, the whole monologue go listen to it. Some of it's pretty funny. There was one joke in there particularly. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't about his dad or his mom. But one joke was pretty good. I have to remember what that was. And if I can, I'll bring it up later. But leave a comment below. Like if you go watch it or if you've seen it, let me know what you think about the monologue. Was it over the line? Did he criticize somebody too much? Did he, was he being a jerk or anything? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. If you're a Shane Gillis fan, I'd love to know what you thought about his monologue too, because again, I am a Shane Gillis fan to a degree. I don't think he's the greatest thing out there, but I like his comedy specials. I've watched a couple of them. I watch his skits. I watch him on Rogan and everything, and I laugh at him. I think he's great, but definitely not one of the greatest in my book, not yet anyways. I think he's still pretty early in his career as far as, to be equivalent to those that are the greats, but yeah, definitely leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and we'll get on out of this segment. Thank you so much for hanging with me for that. This next one coming up, this is about the election. It's going to be a new segment we're going to do, whether it's for the primaries or for the real deal election between, I'm going to go ahead and say, Trump and Biden, or whomever it is. This is election 2024. All right, so as we already know, the primaries are well underway, and Republicans have all pretty much dropped out except for Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. We've talked about this before. Not really sure why Nikki Haley has decided to stay in. Actually, I have some thoughts on that I'll share. But from an outsider's perspective, or just kind of a normie, I think most people don't understand it. And hopefully we'll cover that a little bit here. And we have covered some stories in the past. We'll revisit real quick here a little bit. But let's go look at some of the results so far. So in the Republican primaries, we got South Carolina that just finished the other day. Donald Trump with 59.8% of the votes. Nikki Haley with 39.5%. Trump won, obviously, right? Picked up, let's see, he picked up 47 delegates out of the 50. She picked up 3. Good for Nikki. Let's look at this other one, what just wrapped up. Oh, yeah, Michigan. We just had Michigan. Donald Trump, 68% of the vote. Nikki, 26% of the vote. And Trump picked up 12 delegates out of that one. Way to go, Trump. And this is overall. So this is overall. You're looking at Trump with 122 delegates. Nikki with 24 delegates. Even Ron DeSantis has got 9 and Vivek's got 3. Good for you guys. And y'all are pretty close. You guys are closer to Nikki than Nikki is to Trump. Think about that. So that's kind of where we're at with that. That's your overall results. And from the primaries, and remember, like Nevada's primary didn't really matter. I think Nikki lost to none of the above in Nevada, but that didn't even matter because Trump wasn't on the ballot at all. They don't even care about the primaries. They do a caucus, and he got every single one of the delegates from that one there. And then, something to remember is that Democrats or non-Republicans can vote in these primaries. We talked about that before. In fact, here's the specific video I pointed out before that I think is relevant right now.
Nikki Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
You can tell that dude still wears a mask outside jogging or walking or whatever he does. He kept backing away from her. Little soy boy there. I get it. Look, he's a Democrat voting for Haley. That was New Hampshire. We've covered that. Several people have covered that. I'm not the only one. There's plenty of people out there. I didn't make it up. Okay. And that was CNN. Good for them. Hey, they cover the actual news every now and then. Shocking. But here's another one. Here's MSNBC. MSNBC finally telling the truth about something right here.
And one other thing I think to keep an eye on, to keep in mind here, too, is significant to interpreting these primary results on the Republican side, I think, has been the rules so far in the 3 primaries where Trump and Haley have gone one-on-one. That is New Hampshire, that is South Carolina, and that is Michigan. And they have all allowed for the mass participation of non-Republican voters. And I think there's a lot of sort of suggestive evidence in the results so far that that has been a significant part of Haley's support in these states. And it's something that can come, and a lot of it may very well be coming from non-Republicans who didn't vote for Trump in 2020, didn't vote for Trump in 2016, have no intention, as you were just talking about, of voting for Trump in 2024. But because the rules allow them to participate and because their energy to vote against Donald Trump is off the charts high, there's, I think, a lot of reason to suspect they're coming into these Republican primaries just for the chance to vote against Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. We covered that in fine detail 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it may have been 3 weeks ago. We talked about that in great detail and depth, the percentage of non-Republicans that were voting or undeclared or whatever they want to call it, that were voting for Trump or voting for Haley versus Trump. In fact, the overwhelming majority of Trump voters are declared Republicans, with a small percentage being those undeclared or whatnot, right? But on the flip side, and I should have put that graph up there because we had that a few weeks ago, but on the flip side, it's almost the exact opposite. The overwhelming majority of Nikki Haley voters are undeclared, and very small portion of them are usually around 25% flip-flop, right? About 25% of Trump's voters are undeclared and 75% are Republican. About 25% of Nikki's are Republicans and 75% are undeclared. It's really strange if you don't know what's going on. If you know what's going on, you know what's going on. Democrats are voting to sabotage Trump. One of the segments I was going to do today that I just did not have time for to really put that work in. And I would say this, there's a YouTube channel out there / Rumble channel, podcast, whatever, called the Mad Dad Podcast. He has a great channel. He goes into some pretty good depth as well. He's a fairly new channel, just like I am. So, you know, go subscribe, check him out too. But he's Southern California guy of Hispanic descent, conservative, Christian. He comes from everything from significantly more of a biblical, scriptural, Christian perspective than I do, which it's part of who I am. No doubt it's going to come up, but that's a huge base for who he is. That's a story that I was going to do, the segment I was going to do. That's a story I would love to kind of reach out to him and see if we couldn't kick something back and forth with that. So if you do go check out his channel, drop a comment on there that The Morning Mayhem sent you, or Chris at The Morning Mayhem sent you, and maybe he'll reach out to me and we can do that. But it talks about the game that's being played. Behind the door, behind the curtain, behind closed doors, the game that's being played to manipulate the election, to maintain power in certain people's hands. And I think it would be very, very interesting. But again, didn't really have time to get into it this week to do it justice. So I'd rather just skip over it for now and come back to it later. So if I don't hear anything from him, I may just do it next week. But I think it would be a really interesting dive into some of the and I don't want to say conspiracy theory stuff, because I believe it. I don't think it's conspiracy theory at all, but we'll talk about it. We'll see if that's something you guys want. Leave a comment below too. And like I said, head over to the Mad Dad Podcast. I will leave a link down below to both his YouTube and Rumble. I know he's on some other audio platforms as well, but I'll just do the YouTube, Rumble. You can find him from there, but go check him out. Leave a comment in his videos down there. And lastly, of course, if you guys are wondering, there is Democrat primaries going on too. And Biden's winning. I mean, if you care about that. Hey guys, want to talk to you real quick about one of my favorite brands. I just recently got my order in. I've been waiting a little bit, and I have mentioned that before, and it's not a super huge complaint with the company that there are wait times sometimes. I understand, because here's the thing with them. They roast on demand. And I'm okay with that. I can go to the store and get crap that's been sitting out there for months or however long and pay the same price for it that I would have if it was fresh, right? But these guys, they what all am I going to talk about here with these guys? Yeah, they're not gimmicky. Everything's good with them. They're not trying to Bud Light you or sell you anything that, it goes against who you are or what you believe in. It's freshly made, like I said, hand roasted. The fulfillment and roasting facilities are located right here in the United States. Each person purchases hand roasted to order. That means they wait until they receive the order before it goes into the roaster. So again, there is a delay. Sometimes, not all the time. I've ordered it and it's gotten here pretty quick, but I think they were probably backed up from Valentine's and beyond with all the orders that they had and the special gift boxes and everything, because they've got specialty nuts, cocoa, coffees of all kinds and shapes and sizes, merchandise. Got a nice little coffee cup right there. Look at that. I'm gonna be checking that bad boy out, but I just got in the other day, so that's why it's sitting here. Otherwise it'd be sitting by my coffee maker in there. But go check those guys out. Look, for the best coffee, tea, or cocoa, visit coffeebrandcoffee.com today and use promo code mayhem right here. It's gonna get you 10% off your entire purchase, whatever it is, merchandise, coffee, tea, all that good stuff. The direct link to those guys will be in the description below. Make sure you go check them out. You will not be disappointed. Jeremy over at The Quartering, it's his brand. It's something that he's pushed out there. His folks are doing a phenomenal job. Go check them out. And he's always said, if you're not 100% satisfied, he'll buy it back from you. Guaranteed he'll do that. Stand-up guy, stand-up customer service. Never had a problem with him. Go check him out today. Thanks, guys. Next segment, we're going to talk about the federal government being clueless. This is a new segment we're going to roll out. And I wasn't planning on this until the news just broke about Mitch McConnell. So let's go ahead and roll this good old stinger, and we'll get right on into it. The federal government is clueless.
Lucifer. Ooh, you suck.
How's that? Did you enjoy that? I hope you did. All right, folks, you hear it here first. The Morning Mayhem. Mitch McConnell stepping. Okay, well, maybe you didn't hear it here first because it's been a couple days now. But look, wow, Mitch McConnell stepping down. Who would have ever thought this old geezer would go anywhere? Look, there's probably people out there that support him. You're probably from his state, which is, let's see, McConnell is Kentucky. I'm sure you love him, and he's probably served his nation well, his state well, and everything. Not a super huge fan myself, and feeling kind of like he's pointless to be there at this point. I'm sure he can get votes and everything like that, but let's look at it. This guy's 82 years old. Okay, he just turned 82. He announced that he's going to be stepping down from his leadership role in November. So we still have several months of him being in this role before he leaves. So he wants to stay there until there's new leadership and all this and that. I didn't hear him say, and maybe I overlooked it, that he's stepping down completely, but I heard him say he's stepping down from his leadership role, which that's great, but this dude needs to go. Look, the news broke Wednesday that 82-year-old senator is stepping down from his role in November, making way for the next generation, which to me, the next generation from him is like 60-plus-year-olds, right? So we need that next generation like the Matt Gaetz, like the Vivek Ramaswamy's, if he was ever to go for Congress. But that's the generation that needs to be in there doing it. People that are still in touch with, modern everyday men and women, people that are still buying groceries at the store and, haven't been in Congress for years. We'll get into that in a little bit. 39, I think. Let's see. The median age of Congress. And I joke about the 60s, but look, the median age in Congress, this was numbers I pulled last year, so I just added one to it because it was last year, right? So the median age in Congress is 58.9 years old. 58.9 years old. The average age of retirement in the real world in the United States is 61. So understand the average age is 61, the median meaning the middle age there, right? Not necessarily the average or whatnot. What that means is that there are just as many people over the age of 58 that there are under the age of 58 in Congress. That should be very, very alarming. These people are almost at or approaching that normal retirement age and then saying, nah, I'm gonna stick around for another 10, 15, 20 years. What could go wrong? Well, a lot. You guys see who's allegedly running the country right now. But there's no way these people are in touch with regular folks like you and me. McConnell was elected back in 1985. 1985. He's been in Congress for 39 years. First of all, I don't think that was the idea when all this was created. I'm going to come back to me. I'm tired of looking at him. I don't think that was the idea when they created the House and the Senate and all that, right? It wasn't supposed to be a full-time, get rich and stay there forever kind of position. It was, hey, we're going to pay you money so you can come do this and step away from your other job, and maybe we're going to pay you enough so it's harder to bribe you, and maybe it'll influence you to stay legit. Well, we've seen that's not the case anymore, right? He's been there for 39 years. He was born in 1942. This man was born before Alaska and Hawaii became states. And look, I got nothing against old people. Some old people have it together. Some people don't. You look at the presidential nominees right now. I say nominees. I mean, you got Biden, who's old, ancient, probably as bad off, if not worse, than McConnell right here. And then you got Trump, who's only a few years younger than Biden, but he seems like he's a decade younger. The guy's significantly more spry, more mobile, getting around. Dude's dancing on stage. He's playing golf. He's more active. He's more cognitively there, even though the left would have you believe otherwise. And I won't share the clips, but I'll tell you who to go check out. Mark Dice. Mark Dice does a really, really great job of breaking down all those lies about them trying to go after his Trump's cognitive decline now, because Biden's is so apparent. Instead of calling him out, or instead of facing the truth, they're going to do what they always do and point at the other party or the other candidate or whatever. So you go check out Mark Dice. I promise you won't be disappointed. That dude's something else. But look, he's been in Congress for 39 years. Part of me is upset that he stayed this long on his own terms, right? Then another part of me is upset that the voters keep electing him. Come on, Kentucky, what are we doing? But then again, here's the other thing, and I get it. Maybe there hasn't been anybody good running against him. A better alternative, right? Like I remember we had, what was it, Raphael Warnock? I think it was Raphael. Yeah, Raphael Warnock in Georgia was going against Herschel Walker. Look, I like Herschel Walker to a degree. I wasn't super excited to vote for him. I did, but I wasn't super excited to vote for him. Definitely wasn't going to vote for Raphael Warnock, but the alternatives are not great there. And of course that was a Republican and a Democrat, but in this case, we're the Republicans. It's Kentucky, for God's sake. I mean, there's got to be some other conservative Republican out there that can win an election over McConnell. If not, maybe you're that person. Maybe if you're from Kentucky, you go up there and run and you're going to get the seat. I'm just saying. So look, I'm in favor of term limits. Okay. Glad at 82, he's finally stepping down on his own, but several people, Rand Paul's one that I absolutely love. And I've said it before and I'll say it again 1,000 times and you're going to get tired of hearing it. I love Rand Paul. Love Rand Paul. Ron Paul, his father, awesome. Okay. I love the Pauls. They are in favor of term limits. So am I, and I know others are too. But when reached out to Mitch McConnell, this is all he had to say. Okay, that might have been insensitive. I don't care. Look, it's time for him to go. Old man having a seizure, stroke, or paralysis, or whatever's going on. At that point, it's time to go. Dianne Feinstein, time to go. Him, time to go. In fact, I got somebody else who I want to put on the chopping block right now. Look, here's a suggestion.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Senator Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, I didn't add the booze. I mean, that was straight up. And he just came out at, was it South Carolina? I think the rally after Trump won, and he spoke, and he was getting booed there too. It may not have been South Carolina. Don't fact check me on that. I just remember seeing it, but he was getting booed there too. So not a very loved guy. And yeah, I'm okay with that, because you know what? That's my recommendation. Let's go after him. You're next, mother. So I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and yeah, I still use Facebook. I'm still learning Twitter and stuff. My Instagram got compromised, but I do have it for my filmmaking, Mayhem Productions, not the morning mayhem. I don't have an Instagram for that. I'm not that interesting, honestly. But I do have a Facebook, and I was scrolling through it the other day and ran across this one right here. This was a sponsored ad. I clicked on to just get it big and nice for you guys, but this was one of those sponsored ads from Dove. Now, apparently this was aired during the Super Bowl, I think I saw, or maybe they had something similar, but let's check it out. It says, now that we've got your attention, we want to tell you about our Body Confident Sport program. Well, that sounds great. It was this that caught my attention. Let's help keep girls in sports. I'm all about it. I'm all about keeping girls in sports. Why? Well, I'm a father. I have a daughter that plays sports. Check, check, check. I'm all about it. Even if I didn't have a daughter, I do believe, we need to protect our children, and definitely the girls. Girls and women right now in the world are significantly more vulnerable with stuff that's getting pushed out there. Don't send me your hate mail just quite yet, but we'll get into it a little bit. So let's look at some of the comments from this video, because I want to see if it's clear or not as far as what kind of statements being sent across the board here. So we got, I hope this is real. We need more corporations to stand for what is right. Yes, let's help keep only girls in girls sports. Totally agree. Men taking Woman of the Year awards and records is a total disgrace. It's nice to see a cooperation supporting what's right. I think they meant corporation. Absolutely. I've always used Dove soap. Start by keeping boys playing boys and girls playing girls. Well, America sure is making it difficult to fairly compete. Biologically born girls only in girls sports. I agree. Relax the uniforms, whatever. Nobody cares about your comment, Jessica. These comments give me hope for the world. I wonder if Dove realizes what their ad actually means. Yeah, that's right. I don't think it means what they think it means, because I'm on board with these guys. But if you open up their replies there, a lot of hate from people that love inclusivity and love of all colors and shapes and sizes. Seem to have a lot of hate in their heart. It's quite interesting to see that, but they're getting attacked for saying, yeah, girls should be in girls sports, women in women's sports, men in men's. What's wrong with that? Well, I wanted to look into it a little bit more, because again, I was intrigued by the overall message here. I was like, yeah, I agree with that. Let's take care of our girls, right? So I click on the link. It goes to Dove's site, Building Body Confidence in Sports. #KeepHerConfident. Hey, look, at first glance, again, I'm all about it. Look, it all points to girls quitting sports due to low body confidence right here. 45% is what it says. And I hate that. I do, because I understand wholeheartedly. Look, I'm sympathetic that I have a daughter that plays soccer. Like I said, all kinds of sports, but officially, I guess, soccer is her thing. So she plays soccer. I myself have low body confidence, right? So I appreciate this message. Hats off to Dove. Thank you so much. But then I found this recent article that came out, I think because of this. This is from the Daily Signal. Has Dove changed its stance on transgenderism in sports? And it was great to see this, because I was like, didn't they do something or say something about biological men being in women's sports, transgenderism and stuff like that? But I couldn't really remember. So I saw this article pop out. I wanted to check it out. So again, this is Daily Signal. It says the controversy surrounding transgenderism in women's sports has been a hot topic in the media and politics, but the debate has also played out in corporate advertising as major brands like Target, Starbucks, and Bud Light race to embrace the LGBT community or agenda. I'm going to stop right there. I say often that I have my criticisms. I said, what was it, last week I was talking about the gay community, and I got plenty of friends in the gay community. I have no problem with the gay community. I know I'm a Christian, and some of you are going to say, well, Chris, you're not supposed to. Look, LGB. I'm okay with you guys. You're gay. You want to do your thing. Do your thing. Just, don't count me in on it. I'll love you from a distance as I do with all my friends. Okay. But, until you try to pull me in or try to teach false doctrination to my family or my child, or put my child in uncomfortable or unsafe situations, I'm fine with whatever you do. right? But then you start getting into the T's and the Q's and all the other letters of the alphabet are in there, right? I forget who else calls that. I know Chappelle has referred to it as the alphabet community, and some others have as well. But that's where you start to lose me. That's where you start to lose my support, because there's so much more that comes with that than just, hey, this is my personal, preference for attractiveness and sexuality and all this and that. Which again, you and your world, do your thing. I'm not going to judge you. I don't care. Go out and do your thing. So I will say right here, when they say LGBT agenda, I'm cool with everything up to the T. Once you get to the T and beyond, you start losing me. Okay, because it becomes so much more than just what the LGB stands for. So I just want to point that out real quick. I'm not a hateful person. I'm a realistic person. And there's a lot of LGB people that completely don't associate with the rest of the TQIA plus 2SA, whatever it is. They don't associate with a lot of the other letters that are in there. They're like, we're not the same thing. I digress. Moving on. Just wanted to make that point because I think it's fair for you to know where I stand. I think it's important for you to know and me to be transparent. Look, all the links to everything I ever go over, any kind of sources I use, are always going to be in the show notes below in the description. You can check it out. I'm very, very transparent. I am conservative. I'm a Christian. I'm right-leaning. I'm from the South. What can I say? I'm just the worst ever, right? But I'm going to be honest with that. And I'm going to do my best to share stories with you from a less biased place as possible, but I'm still going to have my bias. But it's important, I think, that you know what my bias is and me not to hide it and pretend I'm something that I'm not. And you get that a lot from mainstream media. That's why they are failing. Back to this story. All right. Dove, the soap and personal care brand, boarded the Rainbow Train in 2021. These guys are funny the way they wrote this. When it praised Laurel Hubbard, a male weightlifter who competed as a woman in the Olympics. Dove posted on X, then Twitter, "History in the making. Congrats to Laurel." I'm thinking that's how they say the name. "Here's to more trans representation in sports." Now, I could go on, and there is some more in here, but I'll go over to this article because that's what I remembered. There was something along those lines. So, celebrating the end of, what is RT? Is that Russia Today, I think? Oh, I'm going to be locked up. All right, celebrating the end of women's sports, women boycott Dove over virtue signaling support over trans athlete Laurel Hubbard. That's a dude. Okay, a New Zealand dude. Dove are facing boycott from women disgusted at the toiletries company's virtue signaling support for transgender weightlifter Laurel Hubbard at Tokyo 2020, which some interpreted as celebrating the end of women's sports. On Monday, Hubbard became the first openly transgender athlete to compete at an Olympic Games when the New Zealand super heavyweight, that's what I would be, took part in the women's 87 plus kilogram snatch at Tokyo 2020. So I want to go down here, I think. Yeah. So here's some tweets. Hodge Twins, by the way. Love those guys. Met them twice, actually, and their opening act, which is comedian Chris Clark. He's quickly becoming one of my favorites. Go check those guys out and look up comedian Chris Clark, C-Snacks. Back to this. Sorry. Sidetracked. Here's a tweet, and again, I don't really understand Twitter, so I'm still getting used to it. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg here. Was it the LGBTQ nation, then GLAAD, then Dove shared it? I don't know, so I'm just going to read it. Olympics reject calls to remove Laurel Hubbard from competing in weightlifting, lesbian, yada, 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 yada. Policies including transgender athletes have been in place in the Olympics and Paralympics since 2004. Laurel Hubbard is the first to qualify among 54,000 Olympians and Paralympians over the last 17 years. Trans people belong in sports. Dove says history in the making. Congrats to Laurel. Here's to more trans representation in sports. We go down here, then to that comment there or tweet or post. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Then there will be no more Dove for me, which is a shame because I've always associated their products with positive messages for women. Another one. We'll be boycotting Dove. The lack of respect toward female athletes, the lack of care about female feelings on this matter. It's simply too much. This isn't fair to the female athletes, and most people know it. This is clear sexism, and you support that. You know women buy your products, right, Dove? You'll take our money, but you won't allow us our sex-based rights. Your virtue signaling just lost you a customer. Women's sports is for women, not mediocre male cheats. P.S. I'm not against trans representation in sports, just in the category, or the correct category. Our sports, I'm from the South, remember, our sports are sex-based, not gender. And this is the last one, I'll move on. Dove celebrating the end of women's sports, only male and mixed sex categories in weightlifting. Females have no category now. And Dove is like, yay, congrats, bold statement. Don't you just make soap stuffs? We'll be choosing another more female-friendly brand for now on. So here's where I'm really confused, right? And at the same time, I'm not. I know what they're doing, right? So again, as a father of a girl who plays sports, this really caught my attention. Not just issues with the boys in the girls' locker rooms or bathrooms, or knocking them down on the field, having significantly more strength and testosterone levels, but also the opportunities it takes away from young girls and women. The trans athletes in the sports is really causing a big stir. So I know they're trying to virtue signal to their different audiences, to the pro-trans in sports, and then the anti-trans in sports and girls and stuff. Look, what's going to not body shame them? What was it? Body self-image, body confidence, low body confidence. Well, yeah, when you put them next to a super heavyweight man, a biological man, they're going to have low body confidence. You're talking out of both sides of your ass on this one, Dove. But like I said, there's more to it than just that. The whole opportunities that are being taken away from women because men are in sports. Dove, you got me on a tangent here. But in the name of fairness and equality, they have to make sure, it's pushed out there. Because there's, certain groups that are just hated upon, and they are not included. So we got to put them in stuff that they don't really fit in. It's like a square peg in a round hole. Look, I saw this clip on Officer Tatum's show, and I had to go look it up because I don't have TikTok. But I had to go look it up, and Mama Bear here, as Officer Tatum put it, makes a really good point. Let's check out this video. It is about almost 2 minutes long, so bear with me. We'll run through this real quick and we'll close out of the segment.
I'm going to get a little personal with y'all tonight. Honestly, we moved to escape a domestic situation. And when I found this school district, I was amazed at the ratings. And I thought, well, my God, my daughter's going to finally have an opportunity to have a normal life. And then we run into this situation with the book bans and the bathrooms. And while my daughter is thriving currently, she's got a lot of issues that she's worried about. And this shouldn't be one of them. And honestly, if it comes down to it, if this passes, we're gone. Like, I'm not going to keep her in another dysfunctional situation. And it's really sad that nobody's considering the other children that are part of this decision. We're looking at the minority, and we're forcing the majority to set aside everything for this minority. I mean, we have these private use bathrooms. I don't understand why this is such an issue that we should be raising. And nobody's even considering the fact that these other girls might possibly have concerns with having boys in the girls' bathroom. And we're not even going to touch upon the fact that this is a DSM-5 mental illness. I'm not going to be politically correct about this, because that is exactly what this is. And what this is that should be is a consideration that we take in, and we've given them the private bathrooms, but it doesn't mean that we're going to take one protected class and we're going to throw them to the wind for these minority protected class. Like women, we've fought, and I've said this in the last policy meeting, we've fought for decades to just earn a seat at the table. And now we're back here fighting for our own private spaces. We're fighting. My daughter has now finally found a sport that she loves, and she's really great at it, and I love to see her thrive. And now I've got to worry about her having to compete for her spot for a college admission over a boy. So I know we're talking about bathrooms, but this is way more than bathrooms. This is everything. This is everything that women have fought for decades. And I'm really upset over the fact that there's women here that are so willing to give away their seat at the table for a boy. I don't even know what else to say. That's it.
So that was a mom talking about a situation is coming up a lot with a lot of schools. And, if you speak out against it, you're a terrorist. I want to say a domestic terrorist is what they were calling some of the parents. So good for her. That was in, let's see, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. So that was up in Pennsylvania where that one was taking place. But we've seen that same story or similar stories, across the board in several states and several counties. It's all over the place. And her points are all valid. Yes, there's a problem with girls going to the bathroom and there being a dude in there, or going to the locker room, changing room, whatever, and guys are in there, and the girls should be able to be naked and change and do their thing and feel safe and secure about everything without having to worry about a dude in there with his, meaty, junk, hanging down. By the way, this show's not always age appropriate. A lot of times it's not. Some words will slip. Some descriptions will be a little over the top. So I don't recommend this for children, FYI. But I like the way that Steven Crowder says it. We can't pull punches and we have to push and really show the disgust and the level that they'll go to so that we really understand it, because otherwise it's just, oh, they're in the bathroom with them. No, Loudoun County, I can't remember where it was, and don't sue me, I could have the county wrong. But it was some school district where a little boy said he was a girl, went to the girl's bathroom. He sexually assaulted a girl in there. The school knew about it, had the boy, moved to another school, and he did it again. And then they tried to cover it up. And then the parent, I think, went after the school board or after somebody, I don't remember. And there was a big to-do about that. And he was still the victim because he was a transgender. Like, look, I understand that it is a mental illness. We can argue that all day long. That's where I'm going to stand. Look, I know it's not the 1940s or 50s or whatever, and we think that, gay is a mental illness or left-handedness is of the devil or anything like that. But, I mean, for these people that think that they're a gender that they're not, for them to think that they're cats, or they think, and I know you're like, oh, don't throw that in and lump it in. It's all part of the same equation. If you think you're something that you're not, there's something wrong somewhere. Okay, chemically, mentally, whatever. It is a mental illness. I'm sorry, and I hate to be, a jerk about it, because I don't ever like being a jerk. But I want to be realistic and I want to be for real. Back to this real quick, and we'll wrap up, because it is not, like she said, just about the bathrooms and the locker rooms and all that stuff. It is about the opportunities. I mean, my little girl's, growing up, and we've got a savings account for her that we're going to put toward college if she needs it. If she gets into college for free, then that'll just roll over and she can use it for, a house, or she can start her own business, or she could roll that over and just keep saving it or whatever, So she has incentives to keep that going. And one of them is to get into college for free, whether it's through her scholarships, from vocational, which she's in gifted classes, or whether it's from athletics, which she is, highly sought after on the soccer field for levels that are above her age. They have called and requested that she come in and stuff. So she's got a lot of opportunities, but if these boys come in and overpower her and all of her, peers, they're going to take their opportunities away, and that's not fair. And that's going to cheat her out of a lot of possibilities and opportunities in the future. So that's the big one that she was making a complaint about. I'll complain about all of it, honestly, but that is a big one. That's a big one that continuously gets overlooked. Back to the video, it's more than Dove and these other companies sending mixed signals to pander to different customer bases. It's brainwashing within the political sphere, mainstream media, and society at large, that has so many people thinking that this is a good thing. I'm proud of all the moms standing up for their daughter's safety and obstacles and great opportunities because of these things. But like Officer Tatum said when he showed this, where are the dads? Where are the Papa Bears? And I understand with her situation, she said they were getting away from a domestic situation. So that's probably where the dad is. Probably not the most upstanding guy. I don't know that for sure. I'm just assuming, right? But look, I'm going to tell you straight up, comes to my county, this Papa Bear is going to be there 100%. And I hope if you are a father, okay, that you're standing up for your kids and you're standing up for other kids, because it's not just your kid anymore. We have to look out for each other, because there's an entire ecosystem or whatever you want to call it that's out there in a society that is pushing against the very foundation of family and biology, genetics, sanity. It's being challenged on a daily basis, and it's being pushed out there to our kids. So please make sure you're standing up for yours and others. Guys, I want to talk to you real quick about Gruntworks Meat Company. Man, I know that just sounds awesome, right? Well, it's Gruntworks because they have relationships with the military. 10 cents from every pound that they sell of meat goes to a veteran charity that they work with. Very, very excited to be partnered with them. They have top quality meat at grocery store prices. It's interesting when you go on the site, you get to see everything they have, and a lot of it sometimes will get sold out here and there. And that's a good sign to me. That's a good sign. That means they don't just have all this meat laying around somewhere. They are acquiring it over time. It's fresh, it's flash frozen and sent to you frozen and everything like that. So if they are out of stock of something, hey, come back later and get it. It's a great thing. That way you know you're getting a good quality fresh product. They have everything from grass-fed Wagyu to Angus. They got regular cuts. They even have organs for those of you that may be on carnivore or do enjoy the organs. Hats off to you. Not my thing, but hey, you know, it's wonderful. So if you are on the carnivore keto diet, a lot of options that they have there. All the meat is pasture raised, never any antibiotics, hormones, or any GMOs or pesticides of any kind. Okay, it's right here made in America. And like I said, they help out veterans, and they have my total support for that. You can even buy a whole cow, half cow, quarter cow, whatever it is. All kinds of bundles. Go check them out today. The Gruntworks MC for Meat Company, gruntworksmc.com. A direct link will be in the description below. But when you go there, use discount code Mayhem10. You're going to get 10% off your entire purchase, and go check them out today. All right. The Film Actors Guild's FAG, or the Screen Actors Guild. I'm ripping Team America, which you'll see in a second. They rallied together this past Saturday to celebrate their excellence after taking off 118 days last year to protest. So here's what you may have missed if you didn't catch that fineness.
By following the rules of the Film Actors Guild, the world can become a better place that handles dangerous people with talk and reasoning. That is the FAG way. One day you will all look at the world us actors created and say, wow, good going, fag. You really made the world a better place, didn't you, fag?
I'm going to have a panic attack and I'm going to leave.
All right, so before I get too deep into this, I got to point out two things. Number one, as you may very well know, I am a filmmaker. I'm an award-winning filmmaker. I've made several short films, and I've worked on other people's short films, and I have a great time doing it. So this segment, I'm going to be talking about a union, an organization, people that I could be potentially working with one day, because I do hope to make it. So I may very well be working with this organization, and I may be cutting my nose off to spite my face. But it is what it is. So that's number one. And I'm going to just head right on into it. Number two, if you're watching this video, then there's a pretty good chance that these guys hate you. The people in this group hate you, more than likely. If you watch this channel or some of the ones I mentioned, like Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Film Threat, The Quartering, The Critical Drinker, The Critical Drinker, but any of these guys that talk about pop culture films and all that stuff, they probably hate you because you're someone who likes to watch good films and not just crap performances and like the virtue signaling sprinkled all throughout there and everything. Look, I get it, but you know, just be aware, these people probably don't like you, and they certainly don't like me. And again, I may be bumping heads with some of them at some point, but you know, we'll see. You're likely the audience that they criticize and ridicule for giving any negative feedback, which of course they call hate or trolling, you know, or review bombing or something like that. I think a lot of us just want to see good films. You know, we're tired of the same reboots and remakes and sequels and prequels and all the stuff that's unnecessary that they just keep cranking out. And I can say that till I'm blue in the face, and I talk about that all the time. But I think we're tired of it. We're ready for folks like independent artists to make it. So you know, support us. Thank you so much for that, guys. You're the best. Moving on. If you don't support them, they'll often call you an ist or a phobe or something like that, but they'll always say it has nothing to do with their product sucking. With that out of the way, Pedro Pascal hates conservatives. It is what it is. he didn't stand by his co-star Gina Carano in The Mandalorian when she got fired from Disney for using Twitter, which is supposedly and definitely more so is now a free speech platform. So she used Twitter, she posted some stuff, and they canned her for it because they disagreed with what she said. Now he's posted stuff too, so let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison of a couple of an example from each, and you tell me what you think. So we saw his in the video, if you were paying attention there. The losers in 1865, losers in 1945, losers in 2020. He is comparing Confederates to Nazis to Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, right? MAGA. We keep getting called MAGA, Make America Great Again, which is crazy because it seems like when you go to a Trump rally, you hear USA, USA, USA being chanted. And when you go to a Biden rally, you watch an old guy barely walk across the stage with no sounds from the audience at all. Anyways, back to this. Gina Carano, we need to clean up the election process so we are not left feeling the way we do today. Put laws in place that protect us against voter fraud, investigating every state, film the county, flush out the fake votes, require ID, make voter fraud end in 2020, fix the system. Probably not her most controversial tweet in that whole thing, but there's a side-by-side comparison to something that she got in trouble for, and he just, was perfectly fine with posting. She also did not compare Democrats or liberals to Nazis and Republicans to Jews. What she was talking about was the vaccine stuff, right? The vaccine stuff, which you're not allowed to talk about. She talked about that and saying that if you knew people that didn't have the vaccine, you need to out them. You need to call them out. You need to, send them to concentration camps and stuff like that. She was mocking the stupidity behind all the vaccine craze and the trust that we're putting into Fauci and all these other guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. But she's made several posts that a lot of people, and it does tend to be conservative people, because it seems to be that conservative people tend to find themselves more aligned with truth and facts and, statistics and stuff that can actually be supported with science and whatnot, versus the left. So she found a home with a lot of conservatives. Gina Carano is awesome. She's out there doing her thing. She's worked with the Daily Wire with some shows. Gorgeous. Amazing MMA fighter, great talent. First time I think I saw her was in Deadpool, and loved her from there. Thought she was great. Followed her for a while, but look, I haven't seen Pedro Pascal in much, but he seems like a real soy boy. He really does. In that video, just the way he talked and everything. We're gonna look at some articles here real quick, just kind of blow through them. No pun intended there. You'll see what I mean in a second. But he won some award Saturday and wants to make out with Macaulay Culkin's brother Kieran. That's cute. Pedro Pascal wants to make out with Kieran Culkin as revenge for Suck It Golden Globe speech. And maybe he's joking, maybe he's not. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby, right? Everything's a little weird out there. In fact, we have a segment of the show that I've not yet rolled out. It's called Hollyweird, and we'll dive into that as soon as we have a couple of topics that I can put together for that. But these people are kind of weird out there. Well, like I said, we'll look at that a little bit more. God bless them. That's really weird. That shouldn't be surprising, because they do push for the demasculation of men. What do you mean, Chris? How is this demasculating men? Well, to turn them more and more gay, to make them more soy, to make them more sensitive, to put strong female leads over strong male lead. What should be strong male leads a lot of times. You can hate me in the comments all you want. I don't care. I know what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. You can't tell me that these dudes are masculine that are wearing these. Look, I understand kilts, in cultural stuff, or in like Africa where they wear those garbs or whatnot. I get it. I understand in the cultural spheres where it makes sense. This don't make no sense. These people aren't doing it because it's cultural to where they come from, or, the film they're promoting. They're just not very masculine men that are wearing skirts and dresses. Some of them are wearing, I remember when I went jewelry shopping years and years ago, someone at the jewelry store said the pearl seemed to be the very last jewelry item solely for the ladies. Like, guys just do not wear pearls. And I've seen all kinds. I think LeBron's worn pearl necklaces and stuff before, which he's a little weird anyway. And then that, I forget that dude from, is it One Direction or whatever? That's just always wearing dresses, it seems like, or something. I think he's worn pearls and stuff like that. Look, I don't think it's cool. I think it's demasculation of men, and I think they're putting it out there front and forward for everybody to see and promoting that as the new norm and trying to get women attracted to that. You know, men that go out there and work a 9 to 5 or even earlier. You know, guys are out there at 6 a.m. driving the forklifts and the big bulldozers and the, you know, working on the side of the road, doing stuff, building houses, laying railroad track, taking apart trains and stuff. Like men that are working with their hands, men that built this country. Like, you're not allowed to be a tough guy. You're not allowed to go out there and change the world. You just need to be a soy boy that stays at home and drinks your, you know, soy mocha chai, whatever, not this great quality stuff from Coffee Brand Coffee, but that other stuff, you know, and don't cause a ruckus or anything like that. Just stay low key and stay, you know, submissive to the world and to everything and everybody. I get it. Look, Nick Offerman's an actor that I enjoy. I think he's great for the most part. He's also in that show, The Last of Us, or was. Again, The Last of Us is a show I have not watched. I didn't play the video games. I know a lot of those people, like I was mentioning earlier, Geeks and Gamers specifically, Nerd Rock, some of those guys, they did play the game. They were familiar with it. Ryan Kennel, I'm sure, spoke about it too. They're familiar with the game. They saw the movie or the show come out on HBO, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it for the most part. But then, of course, HBO and these studios do what they do, and they insert their whatever latest craze of virtue signaling. And hey, let's take this character and make him non-binary. Let's take this scene and make it where, you know, these people are bad and they're conservatives or they're Christians or whatever. I don't remember who it was. Was it Rainn Wilson or somebody said, as soon as I saw a character with a Bible, I knew they were going to be the bad guy, because that's what they do in movies now. They just go after, you know, straight white Christian men. And hey, I know I'm the guy saying it. I'm just being real with you. You know, I don't want to play the victim, because I don't live the victim lifestyle. I'm not going to be allowed to live the victim lifestyle. And that's what a lot of people do that don't actually live, that aren't actually victims. They want to claim to be victims and live that lifestyle and, you know, soak off of everybody else's, you know, good wishes and soyness and all this and that. I ain't doing all that. Look, hey, come at me all you want, bro. I've got plenty in you know, to handle you, okay, and everybody else that you got coming. But back to this. Look, Nick Offerman again. I like him, but here's what he said about The Last of Us. Nick Offerman condemns homophobic hate. His role received. It's a love story, you a-hole. So again, he was in The Last of Us, and I think his character, from what I understand, did not have a super deep story in the game. Let's see, HBO's The Last of Us, a mostly faithful adaptation of Naughty Dog's hit video game. However, it made one big change, wonder why, by expanding Bill's backstory. Rather than making him a crotchety old man who helps Joel and Ellie, we got to see how he survived the apocalypse and fell in love with a man named Frank. And again, I don't care about gay stories, love stories, or any of that, but I think the audience is like, why do you have to consistently insert these kind of stories in here? And do I have his thing? Yeah. Let's see. Can you guys see that? I'll play it a little bit. Bigger.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Film Independent. I'm astonished to be in this category, which is bananas. Congrats to all of you. This is crazy. Thanks to HBO for having the guts to participate in this storytelling tradition that is truly independent. Stories with guts, that when homophobic hate comes my way and says, why did you have to make it a gay story? We say, because you ask questions like that, it's not a gay story, it's a love story, you asshole.
See, even the way he delivers that line, I like it. I mean, I like Nick Offerman, you know, and yeah, point taken. And this is something that we're getting into right now. And I'll go back to something else for the SAG Awards or film actors or whatever. Here's something we're running into right now. I grew up with a lot of films that had like strong female leads in it, and there were gay characters and stuff, and I had no problem with those, and most of us didn't have any problems in those as we were growing up. The problem now is that it's pushed so much and it's unwarranted, meaning that we're seeing these Mary Sue characters that are just overly powerful for no reason, more than their male counterparts. You got like Rey Skywalker or Rey Palpatine or whatever she is in Star Wars that can go toe to toe with a lightsaber against, you know, a Sith Lord or whatever from the jump without any training or anything. And we saw the progression of Luke getting trained in the original trilogy. It just, some of that stuff just doesn't make sense. It doesn't go good with us, the audience, the people that know the material, especially if you're a comic book fan, Star Wars fan, in this case, like a video game fan. You know, something just ain't jiving right. And they inserted that in because they wanted to check that additional box. You know, God bless HBO. They made some great shows. Sopranos is one of my favorite shows of all time. True Blood's another one that I really, really enjoyed. Love that show. I know a lot of people, you know, maybe don't. I don't care. I love it. Sopranos, True Blood, Game of Thrones, bring on the hate. It wasn't for me. I wasn't the right audience for it. I might give it a try again, but it wasn't my thing. I may go check out The Last of Us, and maybe, you know, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it's just so forced. It's like HBO had everything pulled together and they said, you know what? We need to check one more box. Let's make this character gay, and let's put his gay lover in there and focus a lot on this story, even though it's irrelevant to the story. And maybe it is relevant. I don't know. My point is that it seems pushed and seems forced from those that do know the material. The people that I listen to on a regular basis, they know the stuff way better than I do. And they're saying there was no reason for it. It was unnecessary, but it didn't necessarily take away from the story, I think. So they're not totally hating on it. Lastly, for the Screen Actors Guild's awards, Oppenheimer, and The Bear score 3 wins apiece. If you care about what happened, here's a little breakdown. Cillian Murphy won Best Actor. Good for him. Lily Gladstone won Best Actress for Killers of the Flower Moon. Don't know that one. Robert Downey Jr. won Best Supporting Actor. The page doesn't want to load now for some reason, but you get the idea. I don't think you really missed anything with that. Maybe did, maybe didn't. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's the Hollywood's elites that are, you know, patting each other on their back or patting themselves on their back for what they did last year, even though they took, you know, almost half the year off. You know, they're celebrating what they did in film. They're celebrating what they did in the strike, even though the strike only helps the bigger actors, from what I understand. You know, I know a lot of actors that were not allowed to work because they didn't want to cross that line and be a scab or whatever. But these people work on a couple of projects a year that are very small, and they don't make a living doing it, or they barely make a living doing it. They had to sacrifice so the A-listers and B-listers can go out there and get this extra money and stuff, because I forget the percentage, and I tried to find it real quick. Again, I had a lot going on this week, so I didn't have a lot of time to dive into some of this as deep as I wish I could have. So maybe that's a benefit. It'll be a little shorter, but yeah, it's like a small percentage of those that are actually in the Screen Actors Guild benefit from all the stuff that comes from the strikes. And I know there's the writer strike, the acting strike, and the stuff they've been pumping out lately hasn't even garnered that they have the ability to go on strike and that we want them back. I think some of the projects that have shined in the last couple of years have been the old stuff. I saw recently that stuff from the 90s is the most streamed stuff. Like The Office is what, the 2000s, but like Friends, The Office, Seinfeld, I can't remember all of them, but like all the old stuff is stuff people are watching. They're not watching a lot of the new stuff because the acting is not great, because the writing is not great, because the virtue signaling is all in there. We heard about the not so gay agenda from Disney that they put it in there. And I hate it. Just write a good script, write an awesome story, get a great cast, shoot it well, put it out there. Even if it doesn't look like you had millions of dollars to shoot it, if the story is good and the acting is good, most audiences will forgive it. Get good audio, right? And get decent camera work, and most audience will focus more on the story. Look at 28 Days Later. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and that is one of the only sequels I'm actually looking forward to, or a series of sequels, however they're doing it 28 years later. But 28 Days Later was shot terribly, with a terrible looking camera, terrible looking footage. But it fit the story, number one. Number two, it allowed them to get in and get out, so that it was kind of a need that they needed to do. But it worked because the story was so raw and so real. The acting was phenomenal. Look, these people don't like me. They don't like you. Okay? They only care about themselves. They are completely out of touch with reality. And if you go against them and you give them any kind of negative feedback or criticisms, you're a phobe, you're an ist, you're doing an isms, you're a troll, you're a whatever. They're going to come at you every chance they get. They don't like you, so quit supporting them. I don't go out and spend my money seeing a lot of this stuff. I just won't. Now, if I end up doing reactions or something and I really need to dive deeper, I want to give my honest reviews. I don't want to go off of somebody else's. So I will go out and see these movies for you guys, so you don't have to waste money. But it's not my thing. I'm a filmmaker and I want to support the arts and I want to be out there doing my thing. I want people to go see my stuff, but you gotta start cranking out better stuff. This is just getting sad, but I couldn't care to talk about this anymore, so I won't. Guys, that's it. Thank you so much for sticking around with me this week. I'm hoping it was a lot shorter than last week. If you did watch last week, good for you, man. Do your thing, or woman, or kitty, or whatever you want to be called. But guys, don't forget, we do have the long form content that comes out every Friday morning that gets cut up into the individual clips that go out throughout the week that are shorter, for ADD people like myself. We call those morning nuggets, by the way. Good, morning nuggets. And I may also just post random stuff throughout the week. So keep an eye out for that. Hit that subscribe, that notification bell, so you can see if any of that stuff comes out. Make sure to like and share if you so choose to. And if you're on Rumble or some of these other platforms, follow as well, because I am trying to be on all the alternative platforms I can be in case I get hit like I did this past week with any kind of strikes or blocks or copyright claims or something like that. I want to make sure the stuff goes out there. Want to make sure you're getting it. Want to make sure you're getting fulfilled. And I will always steer you in the direction of other great content creators as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you next week.
Like Chinese food shouldn't be all you can eat because you get hungry again. I don't know what it is. They put something in it. They must. Because I order takeout, they're always real happy. Oh, he's gonna be back. I give that big boy 1 hour.